Chinese dude treats an African man like a hoe in his own homeland. I mean, this Chinese dude was throwing karate kicks at the African dude, had the nerve to hit him with a piece of plastic slate, and this African dude's fellow African tethers just literally stood around and did a damn thing at all. They even had one African tether who was recording the whole thing while laughing, and that's a bunch of nonsense. It just goes to show you the mindset of these tethers, because they ain't nothing but pussyfied, punctified, cowards at the end of the day. Tethers are 100% pure cowardice in my book and opinion. See, the thing is, you let it have been an FBA brother, having some kind of physical altercation with a Chinese dude or anyone else for that matter. Ain't no way in hell another FBA brother just gonna record it and sit around and laugh. We gonna get very proactive and jump in that thing. And that Chinese dude gonna be leaving out of there crawling because he for sure as hell ain't gonna be leaving out walking upright. Because we foundational Black Americans, we got too much codification and unity, to let someone outside of the lineage do harm to our people. You know what I mean? Not to say that that brother couldn't have handled his issue on his own, but we just got too much codification to let that be done to one of our own. See, the African tethers, along with the Caribbean tethers, love to sit up and wag their fingers at us FBAs. They got all the smoke in the world for FBAs, but you let it come to a white supremacist or one of the Chinese or someone else, they become very docile and dormant. They tuck their tails and become pussyfied, punctified cowards. Unlike us FBAs who used to fighting, racial injustice, oppression, no matter who the hell it's coming from. The tethers and the white supremacists alike gonna get this FBA smoke. We non-biased, we apply the smoke evenly. Us FBAs, for a long while, we were the only people looking out for, people out of, Africa and the Caribbean. But we just seen that it was a one-sided coin. We provided the way for them to get over here. Then they get over here and start regurgitating white supremacist talking points. You guys is lazy, pull yourselves up by your bootstraps, cicadas, this, that, and the other. So we just got tired as foundational Black Americans. The day of reckoning is here. People should have had a little bit more respect for our lineage, and the things we've done for these people and paving the way, because it was like kind of like an exploitative relationship, us, putting out and not really getting too much in return, So them days is over. The day of reckoning is here, and we getting some straightening done with the tether class and anyone else for that matter. We even bring the smoke to the white supremacists because the white supremacists don't even try us in FBA society like that because they know we called them to get some damn act right. We the only people that never let our foot up off the system of racism, white supremacy, because of fighting injustice and oppression is embedded into our lineage as foundational Black Americans. We used to standing on business. That's something we do, that's normal protocol. So I got the audio and the video of, this African tether, getting karate kicks and, hit with a piece of plastic slate from this Chinese tether, who's over there exploiting their homeland and they laying docile and dormant, and it's a group of them not doing a damn thing. And that just ain't something we as FBAs tolerate, in any way, shape, form, and fashion. And we're going to walk through and talk about this thing how we normally do. Fair use.
Mpige kidevu. Again.
See, family, Africans got the majority over there on the continent of Africa, and the fact that they, can't get it together, and they had, a whole bunch of Africans around just watching this, it shows the lack of codification and unity over there on the part of, them over in Africa, because they got too many tribal beefs amongst themselves, They view white supremacists and the Chinese as their allies, and they view other Africans as their ops, and that's a bunch of nonsense, because if it would have been an FBA brother, like I said, having some kind of physical altercation, ain't no way in hell another FBA brother would have sat there and laughed and just stood around and recorded it. We'd have got very proactive. This is why I love the delineation movement, because it forces people to hold their own nuts. And, people see this, on the outside looking in and think that that speaks to the magnitude of all Black society, which it don't, because they know good and well don't pull this kind of stunt on none of us FBAs, because we give the white supremacists hell as FBAs, we the only people that call them to get some act right. So, folks don't, run up on FBAs like that all willy-nilly. They think twice, you know what I mean? Because if it would have been an FBA brother, we'd have whooped down on them together. Ain't no way we going to stand around and see one of our, people getting done dirty by an outsider. That Chinese man would have left up out of there crawling, on some me not mess with FBAs no more. You know what I mean? Because they just can't get it together. Always want to wag, they finger at foundational Black Americans. But in closing, this is the proof, that them Africans just lay docile and dormant, over there on the continent and let people come through there all willy nilly and run roughshod, and instead of the tethers that we got over here focused on what's going on in FBA society, they should, put that energy into their homelands, because then their homelands would be all right, because they got nonsense like this going on over there, on the continent, to where as though they ain't even addressing it, and if they keep that same energy and worrying about us, that they, would apply that to their homeland would be all right. Then they wouldn't have to flee up over here, up under us as foundational Black Americans. But that video just goes to show you how pussified and punctified these cowardice tethers truly are at the end of the day. They willing to tuck their tails and submit, instead of fighting back, they just absorb abuse, and we FBAs are not like that. They not like us. We stand on business. We used to fighting on any scale. We don't give a damn who it is. We apply the smoke evenly, because they wouldn't, even attempt to try this on an FBA, because they know that ass to get taxed quick, fast, and in a hurry. Just my thoughts on the matter. But the tether class got to grow some balls and stop focusing on what's going on in FBA society and get it, together in their homeland before they try to speak on us. Peace.